Hi guys, this is Miss Devlin, and today we're going to be talking about Words Like Freedom by Langston Hughes. But first, we have to talk about Langston Hughes. So, Langston Hughes. He was born in 1902 and died in 1967. And he gained fame after he met a famous poet in a restaurant where he worked. Gained fame after he met a famous poet in a restaurant where he worked. And he left some poems at the poet's table. And then the poet was impressed. And he started introducing Hughes to a wider audience for his poetry. Just gonna take this down right here. Um, then Hughes went on to become one of the most important voices of the Harlem Renaissance. Well, I'm sure you're asking what the Harlem Renaissance is. Oh, misspelled Renaissance, put two A's instead of two S's. Um, so we're going to talk about the Harlem Renaissance in just a second. Let's see if I can make this a different color. See if we can see it a little better. Mm, yellow might be the only one that works, and we have to move this down a little bit. Ooh, if I could spell anything today. Okay. So we're gonna talk about the Harlem Renaissance over here. So the Harlem Renaissance is happening during the 1920s to the 1930s mainly. And it's, you know, the new and growing African American middle class. They began advocating for racial equality. Um, New York City is actually going to be the epicenter for this movement. So things really took off in New York City. This is where a lot of artists came together. This is where a lot of people came together for this movement. And then it's good to note that three of the largest civil rights groups ended up establishing their headquarters there, which helped establish a sense of community for all African Americans around the entire country. So their headquarters there helping establish a sense of community for African Americans around the country. Here we go. Around. I'll try and move this one so you can see it a little better. Oof. Let's see if I can make it bigger. There we go. I'll do the same to this one. Oop. And I just want you to pause right here and I want you to take a look at this picture and I want you to just make a little note about what you think this picture um, could be about. So go ahead and pause it right now. Okay, let's read words like freedom by Langston Hughes. There are words like freedom, sweet and wonderful to say. On my heartstrings, freedom sings all day, every day. There are words like liberty that almost make me cry. If you had known what I know, you would know why. So there's a clear separation here, and he's making a distinct separation between these two ideas. So I'm going to go back up here. First, we're going to talk about freedom. So freedom is a sweet and wonderful thing in that it makes his heart sing of freedom all day, every day. So we're just going to take our little text box and we are going to note that freedom to him, is a happy thing. It invokes happiness. It is a sense of joy. It is a sense of to be free, right? To be free from um, the former life. So there are words like liberty that almost make me cry. If you had known what I know, you would know why. So for liberty, it's a different emotion, right? It's a stronger emotion. And this, if you had known what I know, you would know why, is gonna go with our turn and talk that we're gonna answer right here. So if we take our text box and we grab pink, um, obviously this is a very different feeling, right? This is a sorrowful feeling. This is sadness. This is, you know, okay, I'm free, but I'm not treated the same, right? This is that racial equality that the movement is fighting for. All right. And then we're going to talk about what do you think the speaker refers to when he says, if you had known what I know. So I'm going to change the color here to go with our highlight. I'm going to put it, oh, take this back to pink. Okay. Then we're going to put a new text box here. And we could say that, the poet or Langston Hughes is emphasizing the words freedom and liberty, and he uses a different tone to describe each word. We can feel that, right? The way that he's talking about these things are different. The way that he's talking about freedom is different than the way that he's talking about liberty. We feel that in the way that he is writing that. So the tone, again, is the way that the writer, Langston Hughes, is writing this poem, and the mood is the way that we feel after we read it. So now we're going to talk about the rhyme scheme. So the rhyme scheme is going to help us, are going to help convey the tone for Langston Hughes. Um, and we can say something about the two opposing emotions, right? We can say that the poet does this to express two opposite emotions. All right, and now we're going to go down to our assessment practice. I'm just going to take my markup and keep it red. Um, so it says answer these questions before moving on to the analyze the text section. So this question has two parts. First, answer part A, then answer part B. This is part A. What two words best describe the tone of the poem? So we just talked about it, right? We just said that, one part is very happy and one part is very joyful and the other part is very sad and very sorrowful. So we're going to go ahead and color in D. And then this part B says select two lines that best support the answer in part A. So if we know that it's joyful and we know that it's sad, we just need to find our best support for that. So we are going to grab on my heartstrings, freedom sings. And actually, we can go back up here and we can make another text box and we can talk about the heartstrings, freedom sings, this is personification. Um, this is our, a form of figurative language. Your heartstrings can't literally sing, but to him, this is, obviously a better and more justified way for him to speak about the way freedom, makes him feel. And then it says select two lines. So we're going to make sure that we select two. And then this On My Heartstrings Freedom Sings is obviously very different from, the way that he feels about liberty, and that it makes him want to cry. What perspective is shared by the speaker of words like freedom and the speaker of a voice? So this is comparing words like freedom and a voice. So we're going to go through and read them all. A, everyone shares similar experiences in life. B, people long to be free and feel accepted. C, once you have freedom, everything becomes easier. D, it is important to write about what it is like to grow up in America. Well, we can automatically go ahead and cross off our wrong answers. So I'm going to go ahead and automatically cross off this one, and I'm going to cross off C. Okay, so now we're just left with A or B, and this is finding a common thread between words like freedom and a voice. So if we think about words like freedom and we think about a voice, we can make the connection that, people just long to be free and feel accepted. The feel accepted part definitely comes through in a voice, definitely comes through in words like freedom. Words like freedom obviously is going to focus a little more on this long to be free part. But if we think back to a voice, we were talking about immigrants, right? And so, wanting a better life for whatever reason and wanting to be free to speak up for themselves in whatever language they feel is necessary to speak up for themselves. So B is going to be our best choice for that one.